will come online. The Alistar was something that we talked about at the end of game number 1 as being a thing that maybe Meiko would like to play, one of his most played champions this season.
So they're getting rid of Ziggs. This seems to me like we're going to get that Azir, a champion that we did not see from Rookie for a large majority of the season. Going into Split 2, they had a losing record. Going into Split 3, they basically completely avoided this champion. Are we going to see that? And honestly, another one that we didn't get to touch on during Game 1, where's Wukong? Because all of his counters have been nerfed. Vi, Xin Zhao, obviously now Trundle and Jarvan are out of the game. So are we going to get that Wukong? Yes, it does. It's coming on through in first pick.
So Wade's going to be getting that one. I feel like, in general, associate him with having a lot of success on this champion specifically. As we take a look at now what BLG will want to lock in to match up against the Monkey King. Bot lane, always a very safe thing to pick on R1 and R2. Kai'Sa, very good on both of these players. I feel like Gala also has had a ton of success on it just throughout his career, but specifically this season as well. Another one of those champions that Elk could take away from one of the most, one of the players that have had the most success carrying games on Invictus Gaming side.
Well, yeah. Let's see, we're going to also take away the Alistar. This is the chess match that we're seeing here. The Yunara denied from IG in Game 1. Now we get the Alistar taken away. So good ways of being already be able to interact with IG. And hopefully we'll be able to see Elkanon really power through these teams, because Elk has been Mr. Consistent, and while On has had some of his off games, I think that this power duo, when they are rocking, show to be one of the most threatening bottom lane pairs that we have here in the league.
And they're going to have two good champions to make some plays on and really style on IG on if they're able to get into good positions later on into this game. You see Mbessa locked in for TheShy up on the top side of the map. Something that goes well into Alistar in general is like, a Silas. We'll see maybe if Rookie wants to pick that, although it would be blind in terms of a mid lane matchup. Instead, maybe just the Annie to add a little bit of extra point and click CC for a champion like Kai'Sa that can bounce and dash all over the place once you get later into the game with the Killer Instinct.
Maybe if we hadn't already had Wukong, I think Silas gets a little bit more value because you have that flexibility potentially of going into the jungle, as we saw in their last series for IG. Let's see what the matchup here for BLG is going to be. We've seen that the answer into Mbessa outside of some other tanks is just the Yorick. You do tend to spike a little bit on the same power timings, and your ultimate as the Yorick does make it a lot easier to duel her as a champion. So we'll see if Bin can kind of utilize this. I think one of the big strengths for Yorick is when you have a mobile carry as an enemy team, just putting down the Dark Procession, making it impossible for a champion like Annie or Wukong to move, makes it so much easier in team fights.
We got our top lane matchup figured out. We got mid jungle left for BLG. We got bot lane left for IG. That means that we're going to see very targeted bans on each side. The Talia is something that surprisingly has gotten all the way down to this stage of the bans. And now Knight's not going to be able to play it in this one. We see Rakan, he's mentioned that's going to be a very high prio pick the remainder of this series. That's banned away. Alongside the Braum, which is a great matchup into Alistar. Meiko really having his pool pinched at this point with both those supports, as well as the Leona and Nautilus already off the board for him.
And Alistar essentially like soft locks you from trying to play Rel a lot of the times because you could just be interrupted by this combo. So are we going to be seeing already a shift into Enchanters here for Gala and Meiko, or is this going to be a Bard angle coming on through for IG? That's what I'm kind of thinking about as we get further in. The Morgana ban might look a little strange if you haven't been watching, but Beijuan pulled out a Morgana jungle the other night that looked really, really clean. So a great nod and at least doing a little bit of studying here for IG, but they're gonna give mid lane counter pick over tonight. Let him see what the rest of this draft looks like. And a Xin Zhao, I think, definitely adds a little bit more fighting prowess for this team. A lot of frontliners already built out for Elk.
Oh, Kiana getting locked in. Now this has been pretty much exclusively a jungle pick, but Knight could kind of do anything. I feel like I don't normally associate assassins with Beijuan. I'm just throwing it out there as maybe a little bit of flexibility, but yes, we're assuming that goes into the jungle. Beijuan going to lock that one most likely in, leaving that R5 over to Knight.
All right. IG, they can't get Xayah or Rakan anymore, so they're going to break up this duo. I think in the long run, if the series does go late, getting rid of Xayah from Elk and On has been their most played duo, so not going to see them here paired up again. This is the most pivotal pick for me. What is Meiko going to play? Is it going to be an Enchanter? Is it going to be that Bard? A lot of mobility here from BLG, and IG basically are coming in with not necessarily a dive composition, but one that is going to be really executed on trying to find singular picks. You have the Annie to set up, the Wukong as well with the low range that BLG are showing, and the Ambessa to hopefully dive into that backline. I think you have so much utility here from BLG. 2 different ways to knock back your opponents with Qiyana and Alistar.
I think a lot of counter engage, could be good here for Knight. Something like a Galio could make a lot of sense. You just throw out the hero's entrance at On, who jumps into the backline and make a lot of lives on Invictus Gaming more difficult. And we talked about how Knight has been playing a lot more of this champion here in this season specifically. You can always trace it back to how Game 5 of the World Championship Finals ended up working out, and he's been working on this one throughout the year, and we're gonna see it informed in game number 2, trying to put BLG up to match point.
Me and Nightmare got a little, not into like a super deep conversation, but basically he chalks it up to the fact that we're just playing a lot more different champions thanks to Fearless. I think it's because he's just had to play so much more Galio this season than he has had combined in the last 4 years. I think maybe you can attribute a little bit to that finals personally, but when we're looking at these compositions, I think yet again we're in a situation where I think range is going to trump all that BLG can try to get done, but from the execution what we've got from them, if Beichuan can show that he can play this Qiyana, I think he earned himself this game. I think he's like the leash is a little bit lessened here for this team.
It's interesting because I feel like Beichuan was very gated in his initial exposure with BLG, where he very much had specific goals that he had to accomplish because he was such a new player to the team. He was really getting slotted in kind of halfway through the season. Just do your job, play kind of the standard stuff, but now we get to see him branch out a little bit. The Qiyana has been kind of restricted towards the Kanavis of the world since it's been introduced to the meta.
Yeah.
Now we'll see Beichuan get to play it here for BLG.
Really important game here. We're going into game number 2 of this series, and one where BLG have already struck first. Come on, let's get it. Let's get right into game number 2. Let's hear those gyos. Let's go. There's no need for the chant leader, the fan chant leaders. We're going all out.
We might be in the home arena of Ninjas in Pajamas here in Shenzhen, but the fans for both IG and BLG alike definitely here to party as we get ready for game number 2. And level 1 being shaped out here as Rookie and Meiko poking Knight just a little bit. We also now see some contest around the Raptor pit of BLG. Wei going to get that ward placed and no sweeper to try to take that away.
Ooh, Beichuan has to start half HP here. Taking a look at the runes, this is a different Qiyana than we have seen. Both Kanavi and Tien have been experimenting with First Strike and Conqueror. This is now our Electrocute start here for Beichuan. Let's see how healthy this clear is, because Qiyana can clear incredibly fast. That is one of the changes that they've been trying to make, is these weird assassins like Talon and Zed, they clear the jungle very, very fast. And he's starting off half HP. That could prove to be a little detrimental here.
Health bar is definitely going to be getting lower, but clear speed and cruise speed all the same as long as you don't get executed. You see Beichuan getting a little bit low here off of this, but he should be fine just given the way the jungle items work nowadays. Hey, while we're here and while our junglers are pathing top to bottom, we're going to give a big shout out to our sponsors on LPL English, that being ProDiff. You can get high level coaching from players in the LTA, NACL, and ERLs. You can use the code LPL10 to save 10% off your order. Just head to prodiff.gg, use that code LPL10.
Wow. Incredibly aggressive 2v2. I mean, this is the matchup when you're playing into an Alistar. We have seen the evolution of these matchups. Alistar, I think, being a lot more of a headbutt machine early on. But Bard especially can be a little bit more oppressive, especially with all those slows and the Qs. So Beichuan is going to get spotted as he clears down here. That red buff also giving him a lot more sustain as he goes throughout his clear. And we're seeing Wei go for early invade. He's going to get spotted, and his bot lane can move. Beichuan in a tough spot here.
He does have a red buff, which would make you assume he'd have the higher combat power, but the health bar still being a factor from the early exchange level 1. And now with Gala and Meiko having push, he's going to force Beichuan to go for an aggressive play onto Rookie in the mid lane instead, forcing a flash after the root of the Q. And that is the summoner spell that BLG will burn the cost of the blue buff going over to Wei.
If the minion wave had not crashed there, I really feel like Beichuan would have gone for it. You have the electrocute, you have that damage. Is Wei going to continue to go forward? He does not know that this ward is here, so he's wasting time. But Baitron isn't getting anything done while this is happening. He's not moving in the other side of the jungle. He wants to try to contest this. I think IG are waiting for this bottom lane wave to push out, and so then they can mobilize their bar to move forward.
And now the ward should be able to spot that this Gromp's being started as well, so IG know exactly where Baitron is, and that means that they could be in a pretty good spot to just go for a double crab if that's what Wade decides to do. Or just seeing that you have the entirety of your bot side to clear as well is not the worst thing in the world. Overall, net positive here for the IG jungler, who really got handled mightily in game number 1 by the likes of Baitron.
Nice. Baitron's first competitive game. He has been known to play some assassins, obviously most notoriously for bringing Echo, one of the early adopters to Echo jungler when he came into the league. But remember, Wei foregoed all of his bottom side camps to try to go for that invade onto Baitron. So it's only going to be a single camp lead, and for the most part, just information onto Baitron, recognizing that he did start on the top side of the map, and maybe even potentially going for an invade on those Raptors, which honestly, Grapes, now that I say that, I feel like it's going to be a little tough, especially because Knight, once he finishes his second recall here and is able to get a little bit more MR, should be able to get push versus this Annie.
See, basically net neutral at this point. Wei actually not even finishing his red buff. He's going straight to the Gromp because he wants to try to make sure that either is not contested or to just try to protect TheShy from any.
What is he doing?
All in all,
BLG against Wolves
ends up kind of getting evened out through Baitron's clear, and red buff still left away. It's a really curious decision to kind of sack that.
What is he doing? Like, I'm not even a jungler. I'm not a jungler, and I'm like, dude, recycle your camps. Like,
red buff,
we gotta get experience. The red buff is gonna be level 1 for the first 5 minutes in the game, and there's not gonna be an invade here from BLG. This ends up becoming a win for Baitron, as he's gonna be able to get through all of his camps. Still hasn't even recalled, and he's already starting back up on his frogs.
Yeah, so Baitron now net neutral in terms of camps, and because of all the time that Ray has had running around, going for invades and not hitting his red buff, going to be behind in terms of the speed of his clear, and that is going to be a benefit for the Kiana, who really wants to spike to level 6. When you have that supreme display of talent, definitely a lot of tools that you can work around here in these lanes around these major objectives. Very curious to see the interaction with Bin as well on with Cage and W. What that can end up working out with as well for Baitron. Meiko around the mid lane as well, as the bot laners have been ignored for the time of being. And Knight's going to be under fire with Tibbers getting exposed by a rookie. Knight with the Justice Punch should be able to buy a little bit of space, but going to get stunned up, making sure that Hero's Entrance doesn't land. The taunt will land on the 2. Heal and Summoner spell from On is going to keep Knight alive, but just barely so.
And no investment there from Wei because he sees that Alistar is there. Knight in a very bad position now. No Hero's Entrance, no Flash, and no Teleport. It means that a Grub that spawns in a minute and a half time might end up just going over to IG. You do not want to be giving over Grubs to a team that has this Yorick, especially as we go later into the game. Side laning, I think, becomes a little bit of an issue here for Invictus Gaming. Oh, Gala's dead.
He's going to be in some trouble. He has his flash. Not even worth it to use it. Maybe. He's very low and will finally be able to use that summoner spell successfully. And Rookie didn't end up resetting. He's still without any mana and is going to get taken down by Knight. That's first blood to BLG off of a set of questionable resets on IG's side.
I just love how BLG are playing around the map, making a play on bottom side. Bin drops a wave on top side, goes into mid, helps Rookie with his lane alongside On. That might have made this play around the Grubs in a minute's time a lot more tenable for them. Doesn't mean that Bin is just about to tick over to level 6, level 7. Oh, she's trapped.
TheShy with the perfect execution. Still getting trapped inside the cage of Bin. This Yorick is very strong, and with the Maiden in hand as well. Force TheShy back to around his tower, and really making it difficult for this invested to play the lane. Finally, we'll get that Maiden taken down. 30 seconds until those Grubs spawn on the top side of the map.
Now, Grapes, you say very strong. I just want you to look at the items that are different between our two top laners. Bin versus an 80 top laner gets one of the most broken items, you know, plated steel caps. And all TheShy has is a weird Caulfield's hammer, okay? You get a little bit more attack damage, a little bit more ability haste. This should be BLG's objective if they want it, though.
Yeah, well, the junglers are up on the top side, and Bin doesn't have much mana left, has his flash, could be able to use it to get away from the second proc of the Cyclone, and will do so successfully. That is no ultimate now for Wei. A lot of resources already used on the IG side, with Knight now on the way.
this is so free. IG, I don't know what happened between their series between now and EDG, but they are playing so much worse than we saw them. Maybe false confidence going up against EDG in that group Nirvana. And Wei is just, I'll be honest, he's getting gapped, like mechanically making a lot of misplays. It turns into now IG having to shift really weirdly around the map. Most likely it is a small experience and goal differential going over to Rookie, but you're getting 3 grubs, you're getting more experience on the Beichuan, and that could become a massive problem for this team as we go further in the series.
Just 2 minutes ago, we were saying IG should have a good timer to go for these grubs. Instead, it is BLG getting all 3. However, TheShy will jump forward and make sure that Knight has been punished, but it comes at the cost of his life with Beichuan jumping in to make it a 1-for-1 overall. Not going to use the ulti onto Meiko, not worth it at this point, so just going to be Beichuan backing away. The game has gone off the rails a little bit all around that top side. Just questionable decisions, I would say, all around. But you know, it ends up being pretty even at the end of the day.
Maybe all that time behind the stage for Beichuan actually gave him a lot of perspective. I know that Sniper over in the LTA has been talking about now that he gets to sit with the coaches and really observe the game a little bit more. He gets to see the intricacies of playing the map, and Beichuan is, by all means, I think a veteran player at this point with the amount of experience that he had over on Thunder Talk. It's incredible to see kind of the night and day difference. I feel like we're really getting the best of Beichuan here in these last 2 series versus IG and now JDG.
More confidence here for Beichuan. Willingness to lock in stuff like this Kiana, to play aggressive, to go for counter ganks, counter invades. I mean, that's something that we didn't see a lot of here when Beichuan was doing his original stint here on Bilibili Gaming. There's a lot of just being the standard jungler that was just going to try to hold things
Kiana
together.
didn't exist back then, and we're getting a teleport now. Let's see.
We'll see now what this Kiana can do, as Knight's going to try to come in and punish TheShy, who again does not have a flash. Going to dash away, but still getting hit up by the shield of Durant. Public execution. Not going to save him for very much longer, as Bin with one more Q. It gets the 3rd kill of the game to Bilibili.
And the entire time now, Beichuan gets to see that Wei is starting up on this objective. It is Rookie getting gold. So important to note, we talked about that while this top lane matchup isn't going to be fun for TheShy later on, it really is important for IG to get stuff and get gold around the map right now. They've been having Gala sit. It seems like BLG, they just want to ham-fist this. They have 3 grubs, they're overloading onto one side. You are never going to be able to match this team.
Rookie is teleporting in to try to stop the tower from going down. He's going to get immediately haunted. TheShy actually comes in first. There's the tempered fade onto 6 champions. But the hero's entrance is going to follow things up underneath the tower. 2 members of IG get knocked up, and Rookie's taken down by Elf, who's already diving in. 5 members of BLG overloading on the top side of the map. Gonna pick up a 2nd kill, maybe a 3rd as Meiko's forced to flash away. But now Wei jumps in with the Cyclone, looking to try to take some more members of BLG down, but there's not enough damage. Wei gets singled out and taken down again. It is 6-1 in favor of BLG in game number 2.
All this time, Gala is just hitting the mid wave. He's not even going to rotate. It'll be the first turret. It'll be 6 kills to BLG. I don't know what happened, but BLG are back, and IG, maybe they're back in split 1 form is what we're seeing here, Grapes. I think way too many errors and sloppiness coming in from this Invictus Gaming roster. Ones that we were praising, we were seeing in the predictions as favorites coming into this match, but maybe the regular season was just a fluke. Maybe all those best of 3s that we saw between these 2 teams was not enough data. We take a look back at this. It's a teleport from both of the solo laners, but there's no public execution, and there's no Tibbers available for any. So, supreme display of talent, thankfully, doesn't get interrupted, but you can make this happen any day of the week underneath this chart, and a hero's entrance just makes it that much easier. Kills for Elk, kills for all of BLG, and a turret on top.
It just baffles me that IG decide to send 2 players up the top side without rotating their AD carry and jungler until it's far too late, right? Like Gala hitting the mid lane tower the whole time, even while his jungler's dying, seeming like very split communication here. Meanwhile, BLG, who have struggled with communication and coordination issues, even in their series against JDG, seem like they're all locked in as a 5-man unit in this game.
Maybe they knew. They knew that double lift was right. Like, regular season doesn't matter, bro. Spring split doesn't matter.
There goes Beishuan again, lands that supreme display of talent, and Meiko just gets eviscerated. It's 7-1 now, soon to be 8 if TheShy goes down to Elk. Lethal Tempo, proc the Acathian Rain, gonna try to stack those plasma stacks up, but TheShy not going to have enough damage. Elk gets a solo kill. It is BLG running away with this one too.
This is the old Bilibili that I miss, man. This is the one where we're going to fight you on everywhere. Elk is going to try and take a 1v1. We're going to go on to a fight on mid. We're going to try and find players. Bin's even teleporting down bottom lane to grab this last tier 2 or tier 1 on bottom lane. What an incredible bounce back from a JDG series that we were worried if BLG were even going to really make a deep run here in this playoffs. This was a cut and dry 1v1. The only reason it even looks close is because TheShy's champion came out a lot more recently compared to this Tyso.
Yeah, and the Eclipse item does a little bit too here, but Elk able to eventually seal the deal. 4,000 gold at the 14-minute mark in favor of BLG. Your runner-ups from Split 2. And remember, this is a matchup that happened in the playoffs twice that split. But IG have been able to get the better hand of BLG in this season specifically, not looking like the case right now.
I think it's really important to kind of look at IG as a whole so far this year. They've only been able to have a best of 5 versus another top team. The only 2 top teams they've played are Top Esports and BLG. They got slapped around by Top Esports in split number 1. They took down Wavo in split 2 during the playoffs, but IG have not really been tested by some of our biggest and baddest, especially as we've gotten later into the season. So it's only been this matchup between them and BLG that has happened multiple times. I think it's important to see whether or not IG can adapt, because a best of 3 is a lot different than a best of 5, and while we do rely on a lot of the experience from all 10 of these players on the Rift, the current state of the game right now says to me that BLG are by and far away. We're going to be at 15 minutes. They're going to have a 4,500 gold difference. That is insane.
I mean, this is an IG that has won their last 7 series, won 10 of their last 11 series, and won 4 of their last 5 individual maps against BLG entering today. And it just does not look like the same team, the same unit, or at least the same matchup that we saw all of Split 3 along. You can credit it to whatever you might. BLG just look different, and they look unleashed for maybe the first time all Split here in this best of 5 series. And hey, if they can keep this up, still a lot of playoffs left to go, but you start to feel hopeful a little bit more about the LPL this year.
3 grubs you've got here. Okay, let's calm down, because I know BLG are going to run it down on a really bad map state at one point or not. Whether it's here or whether it's international, we'll have to see. That is a Herald. Maybe they go for another tier 2. I wouldn't imagine that you're really forced to. There's a dragon spawning in 10 minutes or 10 seconds on the bottom side of the map. Let's get this tier 2. Let's get some gold onto Elk and see if we can make some magic happen. Elk's searching for it. He wants it.
You want some gold? Oh, let's right here. Meiko flashes away after the magical journey goes a little bit short. As BLG continuing to put the pressure here onto Invictus Gaming. Now again, talked about it in the pre-show, IG have been in deficits against BLG and been able to come back before as recently as a couple of weeks ago, but this is one of the largest leads that they'd have to overcome.
Dude, Beishuan has 2 items, already has the Axiom Arc and the Profane Hydra starting up, and he also has been having a massive jungle lead. This series so far is maybe potentially starting to look like a mid-jungle gap, and I think maybe a lot of people would feel really comfortable saying that about Knight versus Rookie, but Beishuan versus Wei, both of these junglers have not been, from the community perspective, I think, had a lot of love. It's been pretty harsh, honestly, when you think about it. We're not exactly very innocent either.
There's been a lot of Beishuan criticism, especially at international events, but right now he's looking phenomenal against the player that he ended up replacing on this team. And now not even he is needed to try to find another kill onto TheShy, as this is just a slaughter at this point. Wei can't even farm his own damn Krugs. 10-1 in favor of BLG.
Is this going to be a 3-0? We're going to get teleport behind? Gala's going to at least lose 1 summoner spell, if not 2. He's on the wrong side of the map, probably just going to have to execute here. IG look completely lost in these games. They look disconnected, as you had mentioned. We have 1 items being completed for... Okay, surely the flash was not worth it, because now we're not going to have flash for Otacon or the Dragon.
They're not going to be able to fight any of them anyway, man. At this point, BLG looking in pure and unadulterated control of this second game, looking to pull away to match point, something that not many of us did expect. Miraku, what did you know? Predicting 3-0 for BLG, and right now you're seeing this? We gotta do some investigations on this guy, man.
As a big BLG hater, he hates Rookie even more. So I get it. I get it. You know, I know where Miraku's coming from, but Jesus, man, like, we can take a look at this. This is just, at this point, mostly a lot of gold flexing, because like TheShy is willing to give up his life. He's gonna get the top lane turret. Obviously misses out on the public execution. It does trade a teleport away from Knight, so means that Annie gets a little bit of alone time. Gala gets some time on this mid lane, but staying way too long. They don't have very many ways of engaging. This is a rather frail composition from Invictus Gaming. No traditional tanks that we'll see from them. Yeah, let's get it up there.
Gaming. Hell yeah, brother. BLG 4-1. Since he has rejoined the team, hey, maybe they just need to keep swapping junglers in and out. Maybe that's what ends up working here for this team. I don't know, man. But right now, Beishuan looking maybe even, I think even better than the BLG Beishuan that we saw when he first joined the Thunderhawk. I mean, a lot of that was growing pains of just like trying to adjust on the fly to being with a lot of these newer players, but he's looked really good in this series specifically, and even in the back half of the 3 games they had in the JDG series.
Ooh, I'm liking this adaptation here from On. 2 games in a row now, we've seen that Meiko has gotten his redemption before his opponent. We're seeing actually Beishuan find a massive sneak.
In severe danger, Tibbers has been popped. Supreme Display of Talent is flashed away from, so it looks like the Annie will survive. It's a small inconvenience at this point for BLG.
Okay, can we do that? Let's get Otacon, 20 seconds. Knight has no teleport, but he will have Hero's Entrance. BLG, they're going to muscle their way through bottom lane turrets. They're going to try to take this mid-tier 1. We're sending the Herald in mid. IG, they can get nothing. There's nothing available for them. They're just idling in topside.
Oh,
and
no.
Meiko's going to use the ultimate to stop the Herald, but I don't think it matters.
Okay. There's a very clear game plan. Whether call it desperation, call it genius 5-head strategies. Only time will tell as IG are burning this Otacon down. However, BLG are on the way. It's at 3,000 HP. There's no jungler around as Beishuan will not be able to get a steal. But now the fight can ensue in earnest. TheShy does not land the public execution. Rookie in some trouble on the wrong side of things. Elk, though, getting collapsed upon by TheShy and away. But Gala gets the first kill back onto On. It's a 1-for-1 with both supports going down. Now IG just looking to retreat. Knight throws out the Winds of War. Gala still posturing very aggressively. But Beishuan is hunting. He has his ultimate coming up soon, but is unable to find an angle onto Invictus Gaming. So they're able to get the Otacon and only go 1-for-1 in terms of kills.
Okay, let's take a look at the experience differentials right now, because top lane is even, mid lane is even, all of these lanes are even, but the jungle is still massive in terms of the gap. Beishuan is going to have level 14 in 1 more camp. Absolutely incredible masterclass from him, and even the Axiom Arc giving him a little bit more ability haste around that ultimate. This is a nice pull from IG. Obviously, again, the big part of Otacon is that experience and the adaptive force that you get access to. But these were summoner spells that were lost. No flash for Gala during this fight, and they do lose out on at least 1 member here. It is a worthwhile trade. Meiko's the only one that goes down. Can IG actually battle back from this massive gold deficit that they faced all game long?
Yeah, I mean, they get the objective, but it's still a 6K gold lead in favor of Bilibili Gaming, and so a lot more left to do if you are IG, but that is a good start. Remember, this is a team that is able to utilize their tactics, the experience levels to find angles out of seemingly nothing, and that was one of them right there, but still a lot more for them to do, a lot more gold that they have to get into their carries' pockets before they have any chance of winning a full 5-0.
They have small goal differentials, but like, look at the kills on this team, right? Like, cool, you're 20 CS up as Gala, but enemy AD carries 3-0 and 3, so somehow you're down 200 gold. Cool, we have an 8 CS lead in mid, but we're playing Annie. We haven't even finished our second items here, and Knight is going full AP Galio in this matchup. Like, he's just going to utilize the magic shield that you get from the Shield of Durand, and I think the usefulness or the utility of these BLG champions, if you're not at a gold deficit, is going to feel so much worse.
And I mean, not to mention, Beishuan 3,500 gold. That's a 3rd item with the Edge of Night getting picked up. Wei has Triforce and Scrap at this point. That is the difference in terms of the jungle power at this point.
This is what he gets for not taking his red buff at level 1, bro. This is just like, this is absolute punishment at 5 minutes.
I mean, the way things work, it just snowballed from there. And now you can see Beishuan completely owns all of the jungles of IG, meaning that Wei is not even able to use any of the comeback XP that is now in the game because he's not going to be able to get any of his camps.
Got it. Beishuan is just devouring his jungle.
He's going to Flame Horizon him.
He literally has 4 levels, and that is thanks to Otacon. Are we gonna get a jungle Flame Horizon? We haven't seen this in a long time. This year, we've seen like I think 3 or 4 games have 20,000 gold differentials between teams. I don't think I've seen a jungle Flame Horizon.
Normally when it's like an Ivern or something that you're doing at the beginning, somebody who doesn't
exactly.
too much. The Wukong definitely enjoys the income, and you can see here Beishuan very much enjoying that extra cash. He gets hit by the feathers or the blade collar of Gala and still is able to survive. And now we see BLG hitting this bottom lane tier 2 turret. There's not a ton to fight for with the dragon not available for another 3 minutes, so just little siege opportunities here and there, picking up waves and really I guess waiting for these major victories to spawn to take that next step in this thing.
We've got 3 grubs, we've got a gold lead. Let's invite the enemy team to fight us as BLG. Galio is going to be able to clear this mid wave. They can control all of this bottom side jungle. You can see that IG, there's no wave for them to get because they have to catch mid wave very shallow on their side of the map. That top wave essentially is not real until it hits the turret. They cannot overextend without losing either portions of the map or maybe a body.
Oh, on. Tried to go for a play with that flash pulverized combo but did not find a knockup. Instead, just forcing IG back, taking that tier 2. Getting the little things here in this second game. Just take things very slowly to make sure things are in a good spot. Take a look here.
Let him hit the minions.
100 CS lead for Beishuan now.
Wow.
I mean, that's very impressive, especially for a jungler.
Socials team, clip it and ship it, boys. Let's see it. I want to see Flame Horizon in the jungle. 4,500 gold here. An impressive start here in this series, one where if BLG can beat up on IG in this one, they go up further into the upper finals. They're going to be facing off against the winner of Top Esports and Weibo, a matchup I did not think that we would be seeing already here in the bracket, but, you know, and that means that they would be one step away from getting back into the finals and trying to get their revenge after what happened in Split 2.
For BLG, you know, making it to the finals gives you a really good chance to just lock up a world spot immediately, just depending on how the rest of the championship points fall as well. You know, for as much of the ups and downs, the roller coaster season it's been for them, they are so close to making it back to the international stage if they can keep things up. BLG looking very good, and if this is again the form that they're going to be at, frightening for the rest of the LPL and even for some of the other teams looking internationally at this point. But of course, going to have to keep up that level of play as we go through at the end of 2025. And then also the end of this game, as IG kind of have been turtled into their own base for the past 5 minutes. They're going to have to try to get out there soon, knowing that the Baron is up and now ready for basically BLG to pull whenever they want.
Yeah, but they can't ever move, right? Like, Meiko doesn't even have teleport. They can't walk into Fog of War. There's no way. We talked about where the waves are. It is so difficult for IG to ever get farm because if they overextend, well, guess what? There's a Kaisa flying in from the other side of the map, but Galio as well. Meiko's going to use his redemption to check out this Baron, but this is a freebie going over to
it's already gone. The question is now, can they try to fight off? The Tempered Fate lands onto 2 players, but I don't know if IG want the smoke at this point. They're going to try to go for it anyway, as Beishuan in severe danger, but the supreme display of talent will take down Wei and make sure that the Kiana will survive. Public interest from TheShy does not connect. Taunt coming out from Knife, but not going to find anybody. And here comes Elk with the killer instinct. He flashes away for the blade collar, and it's going to be an easy ace picked up for BLG. The Baron and all 5 will result in a Game 2 win for them.
Where are we teleporting to? We're going to push on 2 waves. I think with the decision making here from BLG, they cannot end this game here. Long death timers, yes, but do they just walk it down? Then why did we teleport to the top wave, guys? We could have just ended through mid.
We'll see if that is the decision they try to go for.
Okay.
The solo laners now realizing, hey, there's some exposed Nexus turrets and there is a match point in our sights. Only Wei is alive, but he is now 5 levels down to the might of Beishuan, the jungler for BLG, who hard carries his team to a Game 2 victory.
Wow. Breakneck pace. It is 3:35. We started this broadcast an hour and a half ago. We are already here at match point. We said this for BLG versus JDG. I want to hold out hope. at least in the JDG series, we came in saying, okay, after game 2, there have been holes in JDG's gameplay. It is possible. I think from what we have seen here tonight, there might not be enough time here in this series for IG. I give them maybe one game from here on out, but it has to be a convincing one at that, because now we're in best of 1 territories from here on out tonight.
Just super clean League of Legends these past 2 games here for BLG. Again, not something that we've been super used to seeing from them. Obviously, they are a team known for getting off the early leads, but then not being able to maybe close some of those out. They've been able to close these 2 games out very, very easily, and it's just the amount of firepower that they bring to the table in this early to mid game, just crushing IG before they have a chance to utilize their late game strategies that they have become so accustomed to doing against the other teams that exist here in the LPL.
They're not even getting to late games, right? Like, BLG are just slamming them early on, and this is a strategy we've seen from them time and time again. You go back to even BLG of 2023 when they had Shun, they were tower diving like demons with Yagao, and they had Shun playing Kindred, Nidalee, and with Elkanon, they got to start off every game with like a 1500 gold lead because their enemy bot lane basically lost their wave at level 3. 2024, same thing happens, but now we have Knight, and we're slamming every single lane. Now, like, we're doing this with Beitron, and Beitron, I feel, is getting a much more of an extended leash than we have seen from any of the jungles that we've gotten from BLG in recent past. I mean, it is like, when you're on BLG, you have Knight as your mid laner, you have Bin as your top laner. You are saying, yes, sir, I will play Sejuani, Maokai, and Vi. Yes, sir, I will play Wukong. We're getting Kiana games, we're getting Morgana games. A little bit more trust going over to the new, not a new player, but a player that we've seen in and out of the roster so far this year.
I feel like, you know, for Beishuan, I mean, you even think of a player like Cream, right, who is a part of different iterations of rosters in the LPL, but never on top contending teams until he got to TS, and now he's kind of still a newer player on that level of a team. That to me is what Beishuan is looking like right now here for BLG, really starting to unleash himself and develop in new ways with all these superstars that he is surrounded by, and now no longer gated by just being the jungler for Knight, the jungler for Bin. He is now Beishuan, right? He is now somebody who can make a name for himself here in this league. He's able to keep up this level of play, and this is, you know, a different Beishuan than even we saw on Thunder Talk, where they had some success with him on the roster in Split 1, you know, going to top 8. Even a different look from that here in this series so far.
I would definitely agree. BLG is definitely a different caliber of team from Thunder Talk. I'm glad we're in alignment on that one.
No, but in terms of, you know, the carry threat and you know, the leadership and the style that Beishuan is playing with, when he was forced to be the big playmaker on TT versus, you know, being maybe a secondary person on BLG at the start.
Oh yeah,
this is.
I'm obviously busting your chops. We're having a little bit of fun here. I mean, this series has not led for a lot of analysis, to be honest. Like, I get to have the first 5 minutes of the game, and then everything after that is just watching a gold lead get slammed against someone's head for the next 20. So, I'm glad that we're getting more competitive games from BLG, because this team can be scary, and there's been so many times throughout this year where we're like, okay, we're starting to believe this team. Remember their run in Split 2? We were like, okay, damn, this team looks good. Like, they could potentially take it all. Obviously, AL were still top dogs at that time, but if there was ever a team to really take them, it felt like it was going to be BLG, and maybe they were just taking a little bit of a hiatus after MSI. Maybe that MSI hangover really extended all the way until the end of the regular season, but they're playing so much better. That JDG series may be waking them up and giving them that fire of encouragement that they needed to step back into form.
And if this, again, is what BLG continue to look like as we go throughout the playoffs, the landscape of the LPL flipped upon its head. I feel like, again, we had different expectations based off of what we saw in the regular season about what the playoff teams are going to look like. You know, top esports at the top, maybe IG looking, you know, maybe shortly after that. But now with BLG performing in this series, we saw AL get sent to the lower bracket already. Who knows what the rest of the playoff bracket does have in store? As, you know, we see these highlights, there's not a lot to talk about. It's just BLG winning, BLG winning, BLG winning. What do IG have to do to even start conversations about a reverse sweep? I mean, it has to start with the early game, because they're building comps set for late games, but they're not getting to that point in any of them so far.
It feels like a combination, and this is going to be the ultimate cop-out, because I think the drafts from IG have been getting pretty handily countered in a lot of situations. I mean, we look at these first two, we've talked a lot about what happened in game number 1, but this game number 2, we're getting Meiko off of these really comfortable support champions that we've seen from him, and a large focus going into the ban strategy up against this team. This has been the most prep I've seen from BLG all year long when it comes to their drafts. The fact that we're cutting Meiko out, we're getting the Alistar early, then second phase we're banning Nautilus, we're banning the Alistar and the Rakan, we're getting Poppy away from him as well, we're putting him on the Bard in this game. Like, this really feels like this is the BLG that we've been promised for so many years, where it's not just the players now hand-stiffing their opponents, we're also getting the coaching staff actually pulling their weight and providing them playable game states for the team.
Hey, they've had a lot of time to prep for the presumptive matchup against IG, and a lot of tape to go back and look at, because these two teams have faced off against each other quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, and even dating back to split number 2. Taking a look at our MVP for this game, no surprise here, it is Beishuan on the Kiana ends 5,500 gold ahead of Wei.
That is incredible, by the way. He has 2 MVP counts, and they're both from playoffs, because he missed all of split 3. That's the most impressive part. He was gone this entire split.
And now just racking them up here, 1 in each series so far, maybe some more to come as we go throughout the rest of this playoffs, rest of this series even, with BLG now being at match point. But they know best. A reverse sweep always starts with your opponents feeling maybe a little bit too overconfident. That's what IG are going to have to tap into here if they want to start the near impossible journey, seemingly, of trying to take down this BLG team, which is looking like an all-new, different beast heading into this upper bracket semifinals. We'll be back in a few short minutes on LPL English with game number 3 between IG and BLG. Welcome back, everybody, to LPL English. You know, like, when I first logged on, put my headphones on, started thinking about this series, I thought, hey, maybe it'd be a quick 3-0 for Invictus Gaming, who have looked like such a dominant team all split long. But now it's BLG on the verge of a sweep. 2 games to nothing, and neither have been particularly close up against IG.
Well, you're getting a dream. You wanted to get a quick night. You were on last night. You have 4 games. You're on the second series as well after a 5 game. I was like, okay, let's get you right back to bed. But it has gone not necessarily to expectation as you were kind of leading up there. BLG have been incredibly dominant, back to their old selves that we were looking at coming off of 2024. And this is probably the right time for them to do it. I know that we haven't really talked about it too much, but in terms of regional qualifier points, if they're here to win today, they will immediately put themselves at the very least in contention for upper bracket of the regional finals. And you look at the points that they have the most points now overlapping anyone's legend. They could potentially move themselves to being that 2nd seed if they don't outright win the split.
Yeah, I mean, because AL are now in the lower bracket, BLG just would lock themselves top 3 with the series win here. That's, what, 80 championship points already? The number of points that stack up in terms of the differences between split 1 to 2 to 3 kind of grow nearly exponentially. So it's going to be very, very hard for anybody to catch BLG because of their split 2 and what could be their split 3 performance if they're able to close this one out. But hey, you got to get to 3. That's the most important part of a best of 5. It's not, you know, who's looked the best in the first 2 games. It's who wins 3 first. And IG still have the opportunity to accomplish that goal, although now it's a much taller task than even what we thought it was going to be going into the day.
I really want to thank the LPL community, again, for even making this opportunity possible, but going on Twitter in between the games, seeing that Beichuan, previously a really close friend before they went pro with another player, Beifeng, who originally actually was on OMG's lineup for a little bit of time. He's a really big Qiyana player, even old school, kind of going back into the LPL. So as players who were friends from school, they both were dueling on the super server. They both lived with each other. I think it is quite poetic that he gets to bring out Qiyana for one of his best friends and hopefully even kind of maybe show that he got a little bit of that skill rubbed off onto him.
Hey, yeah, maybe just sitting in call, watching some solo queue VODs or something of, you know, just some Qiyana gameplay results in good wins. Obviously not going to be available for the remainder of this series if you are in that true fearless format, but always a fun story here. There's always different areas where you can learn and grow as a player, even if you're not getting competitive games here on the LPL stage, and that's something that Beichuan did not get the opportunity to do, whether it was due to injury or just competitive decisions by BLG's management. And so now, swapped back in after the JDG game number 1. It's looked very, very good so far in his first 5 games back, and now has the opportunity to really put a stranglehold over that starting position.